Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel, World on a String Designs. Today I'm going to talk about the sock club that I did for 2024. I happened upon a post by the Yarn Harlot, Stephanie Pearl McPhee. If you're not familiar with her, you should look her up. She's amazing. She did a post on New Year's Eve of 2023 about this self-imposed sock club she was going to do, where she used her stash yarn and picked out patterns to match, and she would do one per month, sort of like a sock club. Now, I am a sock club fiend. I have done numerous sock clubs over the years, and my husband and I lately have been trying to pay down our debt and, kind of get these things off the books. So I'm trying not to spend a ton of money until we get there. So this really spoke to me that this is something I should do. I have a huge yarn stash. Most of it is sock yarn. So within minutes, I was down in the basement pulling out of storage, found some old forgotten favorites from my yarn stash, and then got on Ravelry and paired them up with sock patterns from my queue, or just my favorites, and set up this sock yarn. This is Churro. He very much wants to be in this video, it would seem. You say hi, darling? Say hi. Hi, Churro. So I'm going to go through. We're at the end of 2024 now. I have completed it. It actually went very well. I did finish a little early. And a lot of times what I would do is I would do 10 to 20 rounds on a sock per day on average. And then, kind of move on to whatever other knitting I was working on. So I have all these socks to show you, and I actually just saved them. I didn't put them into rotation. I have quite a serious sock knitter. So I have a lot of socks, and I actually just kind of put them back into the bags, and then I opened them all up on Christmas Day. It was like a little present to myself for Christmas. So for January, these are the socks. So this is a vanilla sock pattern. I started with Susan B. Anderson's basic sock pattern, and over the years I've just kind of modified it so that it gives a really good fit for me. So every time that I show you vanilla socks, that's what they are, is just the pattern. I just would add a few rows here. I have sort of a deep heel, so this just makes them fit. I'm just going to pop this on a sock blocker. So this is a yarn that I dyed myself. It was just a undyed base. I don't remember if it might have been like Knit Picks or from Ashford Bay, something like that. But I dyed this myself in this, I called this colorway Caramel Apple. And so those were the January socks. And a lot of what I tried to do here was when I plan socks, I either, if it's a busy pattern, I like to do a solid color yarn. And if it's, if the party is in the yarn, then I like to do a basic sock pattern, like a vanilla sock. I find that if you have a pattern and a busy pattern and a busy yarn, everything sort of gets lost. And sort of your semi-solids on some really nice patterns, it really makes that texture pop. So for February, I have some American flag socks. And this yarn is Artistic Yarns by Abby. And this is one of her self-striping colorways. Get this on the sock blocker. And these are super fun. So I'll be looking forward to wearing these this summer. And to make this super random, what I did is I put them all, actually I have 2025s. I'll show you what I've done. This is for 2025. They're all picked out. So they're all in a basket. They are in unmarked paper bags. And to make it super random, I have my husband, I just tell him I'm ready for one, and he'll pick it out and bring it to me, and then I have no idea what I'm getting. So I'm not biased or anything like that. I apologize if the camera's moving. This little guy is just, he's got to be right in what I'm doing. Huh, churro. Okay, so for March, this yarn was Bashful Bags and Fibers Gradient Dyed Cupcakes. So it actually came in like a little plastic cupcake holder, and it was wound in 2 matching skeins. And this was one of those gradient dies, and I really wanted to use every last bit of color. So this pattern was a toe up pattern. These are the Laxo socks by Laura Nelkin. And you'll see it a lot better when I get it on the sock blocker too. These are really lovely. And I actually was traveling for work when I was working on these socks. So it was really nice traveling. I knew I could go until I ran out of yarn. So these are, obviously they're a little bit longer than the sock blocker, but really nice mock cable pattern. And I just love these colors. These came out wonderful. So these are the April socks. I'm sorry, March. Those were March's socks. And in April, I had these socks. This yarn was by Fiber Addiction on their Delusional base. And this colorway is called Runner Number 5. And I remember when I got this yarn, I won it as a door prize at Highlands on the Fly retreat in Millinocket, Maine, which is actually near where I live. And this is a zombie inspired colorway. Runner Number 5 is referring to the Zombies Run app. And this one, actually, you can kind of tell the other sock came out with a lot more green in it. So they're not necessarily really matchy. You could kind of tell though, just toward the beginning of the skein, and then obviously this one was first, so it kind of goes in here. Maybe it was the way it was wound or dyed, but they do both look really nice. They just don't match perfectly. Again, that was a vanilla sock pattern because it's sort of a busy pattern on the yarn. For May, we had Black Trillium Fiber Studio. And this is the Lilt sock base. And the colorway is called Hedwig. My rooster, I don't know if you can hear my rooster. He's just young, so he's not great at crowing yet. He sounds very sick, but he's fine. So this is the Hedwig colorway. And you can still get this actually on their website. I'll leave a link below I'll do a Ravelry bundle for the patterns. And I'll leave a link for all the sock yarn that I know what it is and that you could still get. So some of them I don't know what they are. They're that deep stash, or they didn't have the label on them. Let's see. And in June, this was one of those unknown stash yarns. It's beautiful. I don't know what it is. This is a nice like purpley color with gray tones. And this pattern was called Cecilia, and it's by MJ Kim. And these ones just came out so lovely. We have this. And this one had an Eye of Partridge heel, which I don't do very often. And I'm afraid it wasn't the best yarn for a partridge heel because it didn't really pop very well. I feel like I could see the texture a little better in the video than I can in real life. But it didn't really show the texture, and I think that's probably a function of the type of yarn. And again, I'm not really sure what this is, but I do think it has maybe a little bit of silk in it. It's not a terribly squishy yarn. It's kind of smooth, and it has ever so slight of a sheen to it. But lovely pattern. These were joy to knit. And in July, we have Cascade Yarns Heritage. These are the poly socks, and the designer's name is Jane Prater. I hope I'm saying that right, Jane Prater. And so this was a mock cable. I'll pop this on the sock blocker as well. And these were kind of unique because they have arch support. So you sort of knit the foot on the bias, and they're super comfortable. These are really nice to wear. This is not the first time I've made this pattern, but I am a fan of it. I had some, I think when the pattern was first released, maybe like 10 years ago, and I think they've since worn out, so I figured it was time for another pair. And again, this is a little bit of a marled yarn on this Cascades, so you lose the pattern a little bit, but it's a mock cable rib, and it's very nice. And then this one has a star toe. Looks a little pointy on the sock blockers, but when you put it on your foot, it doesn't look like it has a point to it. But again, you have this bias knitting on the bottom, so you can see like right along the bottom of the arch that there is these increases. Hi, Churro. Hey, sweetheart. This guy, he's so lovey. And in August, this is one of my favorite colorways on a hand-dyed yarn. So this is 3 Irish Girls, and the colorway is Solar Flare. So this pattern is called Skew, and it is by Lana Holden. And these will look a little different on the sock blockers. These are one of those ones that they're unique construction, so they don't really lay flat, or really hard to get foot shaped until you put them on your foot. But basically you kind of are knitting them a little bit on the bias. It's a very uneven, and you're getting longer rows because of that. And what that's doing is it's sort of planning the pooling of the hand-dyed yarn, so you get these more in stripes, so they don't get I'll pull these up, sort of like these socks kind of you know, they went into stripy. This does not look at all like it did in the hank. The colors just mix up and they look very different. And the Solar Flare ones, I really wanted to look, my cats are fighting, I really wanted them to look a little more like it did. I wanted to preserve those colors and the whole Solar Flare idea, the way that the colors run into each other and change. So I tried out this pattern. It was a very unique construction. It was not very intuitive, but if you follow the directions, it's very well written. And so they fit a little different. They look a little different, but I really like the way the colors came out on them. I'm not sure that, got a little stretchy bind off here. These were toe up. I don't do a lot of toe ups. My preference is just cuff down. But I do have, in certain cases, you know, for certain purposes, I do think that toe up is appropriate. So that's what these ones were. And again, especially through the foot, I really love the way the colors came together. I love the way the pooling is here, especially where it's Solar Flare is the color. It really, I think, pops, and then you get a little bit of the blue and the purple here pooling. So these were a very interesting knit. And this is one, if you have like a special skein of hand-dyed yarn and you really want the colors to pool a little bit differently than if you just knit them up in a pair of vanilla socks, then I'd recommend this pattern. Okay, for September, this is a main-based dyer. This is Done Roving Yarns. This is a gorgeous colorway. This is Sapphire Blue, and the base is Frolicking Feet. And this pattern is Fairy Maiden, is the name of the pattern. And the designer is This Handmade Life. And again, you can see, you know, as I said before, with some of these, you know, patterned socks, I like to use the colorways that are more semi-solids. So that was September. And then in October, we have, again, a 3 Irish Girls. This is also Adorned Sock. Sorry, the Solar Flare was Adorned Sock was the base on that one. And this is the vanilla sock pattern. And this colorway is called the Giving Tree. And this is one that 3 Irish Girls did. This was inspired by the Sandy Hook tragedy. And this was one of 2 colorways that they did at that time, and they donated their proceeds to charity that was related to the Sandy Hook tragedy. But so I sort of had been saving this yarn, and I finally decided to use it, and I love the way these came out. So for November, we have another colorway that I dyed myself. Again, I don't remember which exactly the base was, but it would be a merino sock yarn with some amount of nylon, probably 25%. And this colorway is called Double Double. And so this is inspired, I did a coffee house series, and this was inspired by Tim Hortons. I also did one inspired by Dunkin' Donuts and one inspired by Starbucks. And kind of used, you can kind of see there's a lot less pooling in this area than typical. So I just did a dye that, or it wasn't the dye, it was the method for the dyeing. I wound it up in a way that it would make it less statistically likely for it to pool when it was knit up into socks. And for December, last but not least, this is again another Maine dyer. And this is by On the Round. And this is her Spontaneous sock base, which I'm not sure I think she might, probably that's why it's called Spontaneous. Maybe she doesn't do it all the time, but maybe it comes and goes, you know, as she gets that base. She uses her Nimble sock base for her sock club now. This was the Spontaneous sock yarn, and the colorway is New Leaf. And the pattern here is the Moss Rocks Socks by Debbie O'Neill. And it has this really very nice cabled ribbing. And then we have this section that comes down with a little bit of texture. And then that comes down on each side. And these also were a joy to work. So these were the December socks. So that's it for the year. Like I said, I did finish a little bit early, so I've already picked out my 2025 yarns for next year. And it works out well because when I pick them out early, I forget what's in there, and then I'm just as surprised as anybody else. So I have those over here. I'm looking forward to getting started on them. And because I finished a little early this year, there are 13 over there, so I did do a bonus. There is one skein in there that when my oldest was young, they wanted some rainbow socks, but they were little, so I did make them some socks. This is the remainder of the skein. So those I'm going to do toe up, which is one of those instances where I would do toe up socks. So I'll do 2 at a time, toe up socks, and then I'll just go until I run out of yarn, and then I'll have the right length for the yarn that I have. So they might be shorties, they might be ankle socks. We'll see how much yarn is left. I'm not really sure, but I am confident that I have enough to get another pair of socks. So yeah, stay tuned. I will probably just present the 2025 socks one at a time. So thank you for joining me today. Like I said, the links will be down below for a link to the Ravelry bundle with all the patterns that are here, except the vanilla socks. I'll probably link Susan B. Anderson's pattern, the one I've kind of modified, the one that I use, just added a couple rows here and there. If you guys have any questions, just let me know, and I'll talk you through how I modify my socks to make them fit me, my unique foot shape. So, but yeah, and I'll put any links for any of the yarns that you can still get, or any of the bases, some of the colorways. These are really deep stash. So some of these were like 10 to 12 years that they've been in stash, which that's what I love about this idea that the Yarn Harlot had was I didn't have to spend money to do it, which normally I'm all about spending money on yarn. It's, it's fun. But I do have this large stash, and I have all these wonderful, wonderful yarns that I've tucked away, mostly in the interest of tidiness, and just forgotten that they're there. So this is helping me bring out some forgotten favorites, and it's budget friendly, and it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend it if you guys are interested in doing this, and I think the Yarn Harlot has covered it definitely this time last year, so at the end of 2023. I almost want to say it was New Year's Eve on 2023, so December 31st. If you go back on her blog or her Instagram, and I'll link to that below as well. But it's been great, so highly recommend it. Thank you for joining me. Stay tuned, and we'll see you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more of what we have. Hi, Sparkle baby. You gonna come say hello? Hi. This is Sparky. Can you say hi, Spark? Say hi, darling. Please go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified when I add new content. Thanks.